The Nathan, Nat and Shaun podcast.
On Saturday, our Prime Minister Anthony Albanese would like us to vote a certain way.
Y-E-S spells yes. Y-E-S spells yes.
Y-E-S. Everyone. Y-E-S spells yes. Y-E-S spells yes. Elbow. Y-E-S.
Yes.
Prime Minister.
Good morning. You
Hello.
have the best introduction of any radio station in Australia and possibly the world.
Possibly the world.
I think you really liked the last one, didn't you?
Yeah.
I did kind of like the last one.
Yeah, the last one, of course, was from When Harry Met Sally, where
Yeah,
she was
Harry.
saying yes
Right.
very
Yeah.
enthusiastically. Yes.
So, Prime Minister, we've seen you all over the news, and
You're a
the
busy
one
man.
thing that everyone wants to speak to you about is the biggest news story from yesterday, and that is, did you actually swallow that fly when you were speaking in at Uluru?
I swallowed two, unfortunately. It's not the worst thing that'll ever happen to
No.
me. The trick, the local Indigenous people said to me that the trick is then you've got to gulp down a whole lot of water so
Right,
it goes
to drown
straight
it.
down. So
I
it
know,
goes
because if
straight
you
down.
accidentally, if the fly goes in your mouth and you accidentally inhale it and it hits the back of your throat,
yeah.
that's when you
You
choke.
can go up your nose.
Yeah.
That's the other
Oh,
issue.
sure, a dog could go up your nose.
There's a few flies at Uluru, but it was an incredibly moving experience.
Yes.
So all of the Northern Territory land councils, every one of them supporting a yes vote. There are 90 delegates to the Central Land Council made up of those remote communities across the tens of thousands of kilometres, all asking for a yes vote, all asking for recognition and to be listened to, a simple proposition going forward in this referendum. And I sincerely hope that Australians don't listen to a fear campaign about nonsense. There's nothing to fear here, just a non-binding advisory committee so that we can hear from Indigenous Australians about matters that affect them. Parliament will still make the decisions, government will still make the decisions, but if you have a process of listening, it's a pretty good place to start. And, of course, recognising Indigenous Australians in our Constitution
Yeah.
is unfinished business. It's incomplete. Our history didn't begin in 1788.
Certainly didn't.
It began a long time ago, 65,000 years, and you really feel that sense of history when you're at Uluru. It's such an extraordinary,
It's a powerful place, isn't it?
inspiring place. You really feel it, and it was so wonderful to get a welcome. And there was a moment where the Anangu women who did the artwork around the Uluru Statement from the Heart that people might have seen, they did a very special ceremony. There was a spiritual ceremony for them, a dance to welcome me as the Prime Minister, and they put on a special dance where they had sticks and they were dragging that behind them in that red dirt, symbolising the burden of what had happened to them over a long period of time, but then holding it above their heads in symbolising standing up and being strong and rising to the occasion, as they put it. And I hope Australians rise to the occasion on Saturday and vote yes.
Well, it seems they're not going to, Prime Minister, if I'm going to be blunt. It seems that is
If the
going to be
polls
the
are
case.
to be trusted,
and they
yeah.
seem like they're on the money when you... But here's the thing, right? So when I was speaking to the kids around the table, I said, having acknowledged a First Nations people in the Constitution, it seems like it should be a given. I mean, we were the
no-brainer.
first people
Yeah.
here. Why wouldn't we do that? The second part that I think that most people are getting caught up with is the voice and the voice itself, right? Because a lot of people are saying, well, there's been plenty of boards before. There's been plenty of councils put in place before. So what's going to change?
What's going to change is that this can't just be abolished. It'll be a body made up of local voices feeding up through to a national voice so that we can listen. And what we know is that the programs that have been effective are ones that have that sense of ownership from Indigenous Australians. So community health programs, Indigenous Rangers programs, justice reinvestment, they're all ones that have that sense of ownership, if you like, if you've been a part of.
Rather than something imposed upon them,
But no, a lot of
Canberra.
Aboriginals are saying, no, so there's a lot of Indigenous Australians who are saying this, it doesn't matter the money doesn't get to trickle down because it's just another group of people that we've had before standing in a position to go, yep, this is what we need, but then funneling the money down into the communities that desperately need it doesn't actually it doesn't occur.
Which is why we do need a voice, to make sure that does happen, to make sure as well that there's that responsibility. With involvement comes responsibility for outcomes, and that's really important as well. Indigenous Australians, 83% of them are saying vote yes. No community's homogenous, of course, and we shouldn't expect that Aboriginal people will be any more than all Italian Australians will vote the same way, or Greek Australians or any other group, or all women or all men will vote the same way.
Yeah, sure.
Of course there's not unanimity, but overwhelmingly Indigenous Australians are asking for this. And, you know, I spoke at the Nurses Federation here in Sydney just a short time ago, and I quoted Yvonne Goolagong-Cawley.
Yep.
And one of the things that Yvonne has said, and others have said as well, like all the great Indigenous athletes like Kathy Freeman and Jonathan Thurston and Eddie Betts and Greg Inglis and Nova Peris and all these people, we take pride in cheering Indigenous Australians, and quite rightly, when they're representing our nation. Yeah. They're just asking, all of them, just asking for people to walk just a few metres. You know, Michael Long walked from Melbourne to Canberra for the second time. Yeah. And, you know, we're not being asked to walk hundreds of kilometres, or indeed, like Pat Farmer, the former Liberal MP, walked or ran 14,500 kilometres around Australia, finished at Uluru yesterday. We're just being asked to walk a few metres into the polling booth and write YES as the wonderful song you played earlier on said.
But you know what? I do see how the No campaign has gotten very strong, because they live in they live pushing the extreme fear that everyone has, and that is
they tap into people's fears.
And that is that if this gets through, it'll be in forever and it'll be impermanent. And there could be a way that we will have to give land back, and
but it's not about that.
And
you're right.
That's based, all nonsense, of course.
It's actually not legally possible, is it?
No, that's right. And if people actually look at the words that are there, it's very clear. The third clause is the Parliament shall make laws about the powers, functions, procedures, composition of the voice. So that's the whole point about the detail will be
it's an advisory body only.
The Parliament, it's an advisory committee. It won't fund programs. It won't provide funding. It doesn't have a right of veto. It's just an advisory committee, nothing to fear here. And people will remember when the apology to stolen generations was given. There was a similar fear campaign. Oh, it'll lead to all these reparations. Peter Dutton stood up and walked out on the apology because of all these consequences, and then had to apologise or chose to apologise for that action earlier this year. But the same thing's happening, the same fear campaign. The same fear campaign that was run against marriage equality.
Yes,
you know,
and also women voting. It's the same one.
But when you're in opposition, Prime Minister, you do that. Well, you do that.
No, they made a choice to do that.
No, you don't have to do that.
You don't have
to, but that's what happens in
when there was a referendum to recognise Indigenous people as citizens. If they had bipartisan support, it's been a choice that they've made to oppose it.
Well, what I'm getting at is it doesn't seem like the people of Australia are getting behind this in mass numbers. That's what the polling's suggesting at the moment. But we will wait and see. Absolutely.
And I'm confident that when Australians go into the polling booth and think what we have now is what we're living through. It's an 8-year life expectancy gap. with a greater chance of an Indigenous young male going to jail than university.
Absolutely.
Now, is that good enough? Is this as good as it gets?
Yeah.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
So let's have a crack.
Yep.
Let's do something different by listening, and let's have recognition. And the idea that Australians will vote against recognising the fact of our history will, I think, I really hope that Australians, when they go in to the polling booth, say, you know what, we're going to show respect to Indigenous Australians and answer their request. This has come from them. This
because they
asked
us to is a good
not
enough
my
reason.
idea.
Yeah.
Well, look, I think the best thing people can do, Albo, right now, 4 million people have already voted, right?
It's a lot.
Including me.
Us being some of them. I think the best thing people could do now is, if you are unsure, or you think that maybe there was a couple of good points there, spend some time today or tomorrow before before you have to go and vote, and just Google, have a look. Have a look, because a lot of us haven't dove into it.
Yep.
Read what the question is, and it's so clear, in recognition of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples was the first peoples of Australia. Pretty
100%.
clear. Just
That's clear as day.
And then it says there'll be a body, it may give advice, and the Parliament will make laws. Make the laws about it.
And all it means is that body can't be abolished if it's in the Constitution.
And then go down to your voting centre, grab your little tiny pencil, and Albo wants you to vote.
Yes! 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 Yes!
Although you only have to write it once, but...
Good on you, Meg.
Prime Minister, it's always a joy.
There it is.
There it is. Just for you.
We don't want people writing it multiple times.
No, just the one. Just the one.
As much as that might be pleasurable.
It's the one situation where multiple isn't better.
Indeed. Just the once will do.
Thanks, Albo.
Good on you,
Thank you very much, guys. Looking forward to being in Freo in a few hours.
Good on you, mate.
Thanks,
Bye, mate.
It's the Nathan, Nat and Shaun podcast.
It's true when they say you never know what's happening behind closed doors, isn't it? So the news from Jada Pinkett Smith, who must be angry at Will Smith for coming out and saying all this stuff at the moment. There seems to be an air of, I'm airing this in public.
But she wrote it for a reason. So you kind of got to get out there and say
I know, but even the writing of the book. So if you haven't heard, they broke up 7 years ago. And they
So the whole thing with the Oscars where he was defending her honour and smacking Chris Rock in the mouth, that was all for show because they weren't even together.
They've been living completely separate lives for 7 years. Hoda, who was huge over in America, got an exclusive with Jada, and here's some of what she had to say.
So from the year 2016, which is 7 years ago now, y'all have been apart.
Yeah. I made a promise that there will never be a reason for us to get a divorce. We will work through whatever. And I just haven't been able to break that promise.
But you still live separately.
We live separately.
But they haven't worked through anything.
So they're not divorced?
No.
They're not divorced.
There might be a lot of people that's still not divorced, but they...
Yeah.
What? How did he go to...
It's strange, right? So here's the deal. So it now sort of makes a lot of things clear. There's been a rumour going around for a while about them having an open marriage, which they have discussed themselves, and they sort of, they sort of said, we're a little bit liberal with that sort of stuff. And that's where this possibly could have come from, because they may have been seen, or she was dating that younger bloke.
She was, yeah.
And, and he's been seen with all these other chicks.
because they weren't actually married anymore.
So that happened, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Then there's seen all these clips that have been released since of them publicly talking about the relationship, and everyone's celebrating. Oh my God, you've been together for like over 20 years.
Yeah. How are you doing that?
And they're like, and then they're dishing out relationship advice to people as well. Yeah, you can give great relationship advice when your husband lives in another house. Oh yeah, does he got on your nerves? No, not really.
We're in separate mansions now.
You know what I mean? So like everything's sort of been thrown because it is their business, and amazing that they've kept it quiet for this long.
Not just kept it quiet, but actively sought to make people believe otherwise. Otherwise, you wouldn't go to the Oscars together.
So here's the deal about the slap, right? So when they first sort of split, that rumour must have gone deep within the celebrity circuit. When people in the industry know a little bit more.
Yeah.
Chris Rock had heard about it and then asked her out. And she said, no, Chris, I'm not going out with you. And, she goes, I'm with my husband. And he was like, oh, okay, well, sorry, I misheard. I thought that, there was
You're
an
on the
opening
market.
here. And so I think that there started the
The animosity.
Yeah,
the animosity.
around that.
But you can't be upset because you don't want to be with them.
They've been together for 7 years. It's not last week, the month before.
That's really
7.
keeping up appearances, isn't it, for 7 years?
That must be exhausting. Because on the red carpet, they're all kissy and lovey-lovey, and it's like, oh, my God.
But even him jumping up, you know...
slapping.
Keep my wife's name out of...
She didn't know what was happening. She thought it was a skit.
joke.
Yes.
And then
Well,
when he got up there...
everybody did,
then when he got up there and did it, and then she goes, wait there, he didn't really hit him because Will's got a hard hit. And then when she got back down and she saw his reaction, she realised it wasn't a skit. And then she was asked was she upset about it? And she goes, well... That's his job as a comedian. Sure, things people say hurt my feelings, but I'm in the public arena. So really, she didn't have a problem with it. He was just overcompensating.
Yeah, he just, that's what it seemed like
to
now
cover
in
a
retrospect.
lie.
Yeah. But I don't even know why you lie about it. Like people's marriages break up all the time.
I know.
Half the time, if the stats are to be believed.
7 years, and you react like that.
I get if you're trying to figure things out for 7 years, but they've been living separately for 7 years. I don't understand why they would hide it.
I know.
Because nobody cares.
No,
it doesn't make any difference to my life if Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith are together or not. Like, honestly, I can probably go on either way.
That is good news. Oh, God.
I mean, I say probably because I'm not.
I'm going to have to take a week off.
I mean,
just to
Hugh Jackman and Deborah Lee Finesse. That's another matter.
I've got to process this, so I will be taking some personal time off.
Okay.
I just need to marinate in what this means for me in my life.
Mm-hmm. Here's Post Malone with Chemical while Nathan pauses for some reflection.
I'm probably going to go now.
It's 23:07 on Nova.
Can I walk you out?
Nathan, Nat and Sean in podcast form.
Never had to sue anyone, have you? Oh, Sean.
Not yet.
I thought the'd be like
together a dossier, though. Don't worry about it. 15 years.
A class action, eh? I'll jump on. Give me the details. So an elderly couple are suing an art dealer, right? Now, they had an African mask.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jim Carrey, eh?
The guy's dad brought it. The husband's grandfather was a colonial governor in Africa and was gifted it.
Okay.
So
did he declare it at the time?
Sounds a little bit like stuff the British stole, but okay, keep going.
Yeah. So this pair, the couple that were wanting to get rid of the mask, 81 and 88, they live in France. They were clearing out their home in 2021. I went, you know what? Let's see what we can get for this. So they took it down to an art dealer known as Mr. Z.
Oh.
All right.
That's an issue there. It's a red flag. He paid them a tiny little price for it.
Did they take it to get it appraised, or did they just sell it?
He's an art dealer, so we'll show him that, and then he'll tell us what it's worth, and then he gave them an offer. So he said, you know what? That's all right. So he gave them €129 for that. What does that work out to be?
129, it's nearly double, isn't it?
Yeah, almost $300.
So $300. And went, oh, okay, if it's just worth $300. And you know what? Everyone's got these masks in their house.
Yeah.
Who's
don't think anything about it.
But you know what I mean? Like, you see them. It's an unusual thing to see a big wooden mask on someone's wall.
If you got $300, you'd be stoked, I reckon.
Stoked? Yeah. So what they didn't know is once that had happened, this guy went to 3 different auction houses because he knew something was like, wait, there's something with this. He went to 3 different auction houses. The last person he went to was an African mask specialist. Long story short, he sold it on his business card. He sold it for €3.6 million. €3.6 million. So the elderly couple, they found out about that. What the hell? So then he went, look, I understand you might be upset. I didn't cheat you. I didn't know. I just thought I'd suss it out after you left straight away without putting it in the shop for sale. Yeah. So he offered them €260,000, and they said no. So at the moment, the funds are frozen.
Yes.
And they're trying to work out.
Do you reckon that they'll have any luck?
Well, usually sometimes these court cases are thrown out, but they're saying that the fact that they're suggesting he knew.
The question is, what service have you tried to get for them? If you've gone there to get something appraised and they haven't given you an honest appraisal...
and then buy it from you.
Yeah, then there is a grey area there. I'm not familiar with French law, so I don't know how it's going to go in France.
But I'm an expert in mask selling.
Yes.
And Natalie, you bag on.
I think that's part of the problem, is that if you're asking for a valuation of something and they're deliberately deceiving you, so that then they can buy it off you, it becomes difficult.
Yeah, most
rather than just
definitely,
you
but
flogging something at the market for for more than it's worth or whatever.
But
you know
you're
what I
talking
mean?
about two people having a conversation, or and you go, well, no, I was just giving you a price on it. That's not a valuation. So I don't know. It's really interesting. What a stitch up.
Why don't you want this elderly couple to have the money?
Yeah.
Well, they're just about
I
done
think there's
anyway,
a lesson
aren't
for us. Ask for something. Ask for a valuation in writing before you sell something. Ask for it in writing for all those valuable things that
Thank
you're
you,
getting
Natalie.
values of.
Write that down,
Say it's
everyone.
for insurance, and then they get a valuation and then sell it.
There you go, Sean.
they? Yeah. I was learning.
Love this music.
I mean,
I know. That makes
this.
makes you feel happy, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Where are we? We're in Africa somewhere.
I don't know where we are, but I'm loving it.
Here we are.
Nathan, Nat and Sean is a Nova podcast. For more great comedy shows like this, head to novapodcasts.com.au. Nova.